Hello. I know it's a little late, 7:44 in California. Let's just give it a few minutes to see if anybody's still awake. And maybe somebody will come in. I didn't even do a thumbnail yet, so I apologize for that. Two people watching, one of them's my iPad. So type something in the chat. Hey, Boston Bill, can you hear me? Hello, Deborah, how are you? Oh, you can hear me, Bill, thank you. Let's just give it a moment, get some people in here. It's kind of late here, it's like 7:45 California time. Oh, hey, Brian. How you doing? Say hi to Brenda for me. Okay, you can hear me fine and clear. That's so good because I'm not like even looking at the site on the iPad right now because I wanted to save an article over on Safari. Something we need to discuss. I have not done the thumbnail, but this is the latest update on the Nancy Guthrie case. But let's give it a few more minutes. It's 10:45. That's late. Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get anybody in. I noticed yesterday's views, the last couple days' views were way down. Oh, hey, Kelly. Oh, I meant to mention to you, Kelly, I just discovered that when I turn on the Do Not Disturb for the phone that's filming this, that it also kicks into my iPad. I can't control that. And so if you try to send me a text or something, you know, because we talked about something yesterday about text, I won't be able to see it during the show, just so you know. Let's see. They need to end this case, wasting money, time, and manpower. Ridiculous. Well, we still got to find her. Yeah, you know, there's some new facts that are coming out today that explains a few things. It has been a circus. And I blame Nanos for that, but we'll talk about him in just a minute. This is April Davis PI, and it's Monday, or no, Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. And I want to just do the latest update on the Nancy Guthrie missing persons case. Okay, Kelly, thank you. Remember when they got the second photo from the front door cam when Google went through the Nest cloud and they were able to get the guy on the front door, at the front door with the ski mask, but then you see him at another time and there's less moonlight and there's he's not wearing the gun or possible taser, because we don't know for sure that that was a gun. It could have been a taser. And he's wearing the backpack when he's closer to the front door, and he's messing with the camera, but he's not wearing the backpack, so we think it's two different dates. For some reason at that time, the authorities said, especially to the neighbors, to be focusing on January the 11th. And apparently, as far as I know, Google hasn't got any dates. I don't know if they have audio, but they do have some video that's been lifted from the cloud, even though she did not have a subscription. And there's a reason that the police and especially the FBI, who seems to be leading this circus now, something happened on January the 11th. There was a neighbor who saw a strange man who didn't really fit in. He wasn't recognizable as a neighbor. He wasn't walking a dog. He wasn't jogging. He didn't have somebody with him. A lot of people walk around that neighborhood to hike or jog or just walk and, you know, for exercise, and they wear athletic clothes. This guy was not dressed in athletic wear. He was wearing a hat, and it was pulled way down over his face, and he was walking very slow. Oh, I didn't see Brian Inton's page today. I heard this in the news, that this guy, the neighbor, after Nancy's disappearance, did report this. I don't know if she called the tip line to the FBI or to the Pima County Police or the Pima County Sheriff, but she did see a man with a cap, kind of low. He was walking kind of slowly, and he seemed to walk very slow, if not stop, in front of Nancy Guthrie's house. And she just found it odd at the time, but just went about her day. It's kind of creepy. And so now we know why, and I think this is important, why the police were interested in the neighbor's video dating back to January the 11th. There is a reason for that, because they're trying to lift some photos or videos of this man that a neighbor saw. I don't know if she was an immediate neighbor. I don't know if she was in her yard or she was out in the street walking her dog, but she did take note of this. Wow, 24 people watching. Thank you so much. I hope you guys hit the thumbs up. Double tap the screen for the red hearts. It is so creepy, Deborah. Hit thumbs up. Oh, thank you, Kelly. This is of interest to me, that they know about somebody who may have been casing the place ahead of time. I think that's why they have the guy on video walking up to the front door without the backpack and without the weapon ahead of time, most likely, because he was casing the place. Now, just because nobody recognizes that man as maybe somebody connected to her family or her friends or her employees at the house, you know, whoever is the ringleader of this whole fiasco probably has retained someone to do the dirty work for them. I don't think it's just a single person that's involved. So this was probably one of the worker bees. It's kind of like in bank robberies and jewelry store heists. They always send advanced teams. And I know this because of what I do for a living. People don't just walk in and randomly rob a bank or, you know, hit a jewelry store. It's planned way in advance. So there was some planning. This is a premeditated situation. This was not a heat of the moment situation where something got out of hand, and this is a premeditated crime. And that's important to know, because that rules a lot of things out. Deborah says, I think family paid off a couple of people. Well, we're going to find out someday, I hope. If you saw my live last night, I kind of went down the rabbit hole. I watched a video that another viewer had recommended on Sunday. He recommended a channel called The Lifeboat and said there was a 2-part video series that is in regards to a fetish cult. I did see the first one. I didn't have time to watch the second one yet, but I have since watched other YouTubers that are separate from The Lifeboat, and they're going down this same rabbit hole. And they're not saying that, you know, obviously, hi Jane, they're not saying that, you know, this is in regards to that, because, you know, she's an 84-year-old woman. But the point of that story was to connect DJ Mojito to Tommaso's band, Early Black, also a promoter to Derek, you can call him Kalela or Kayea, and his band, which is separate from Tommaso's, and that's a really creepy, that's like a Secret Mutilator or something. Yeah, Secret Mutilator, that they have the same Phoenix promoter, and that this Mojito is involved in this cult, and that's connected to Kayla Day, and is connected to the woman that they're calling a goth porn star that showed up to take a photo shoot in front of Nancy's house after her death. So if you're interested and you want to go down that very dark rabbit hole, I don't want to talk about it much here, but you can look it up on YouTube or the internet. Just do a Google search, because some of these internet sleuths seem to think that there's a connection between all these characters, and there may be. Yeah, we don't. Oh, thank you for seeing the live, Deborah. Remember, everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but it is kind of interesting that the guy that sent the fake text to Annie and Tommaso's private cell phone numbers, that he is promoted by this DJ Mojito, or his band is promoted, as is Tommaso's band. Does that mean Tommaso knows this guy that sent the fake text or the copycat text? And they weren't really copycat texts, but they were texts that were copycats of the ransom note saying, hey, where's my Bitcoin? Or what about my Bitcoin? Something to that effect. Look up JLR Investigates. He's live every day. Oh, yeah, I know who he is now. Yeah, he's still out there. God bless him. Now, there's another story that I read today, and this is the craziest theory I've ever heard. I don't believe it. They're saying that maybe she was not really abducted, or they used the word kidnapped, which I don't think this is probably a kidnapping at all, that she was taken falsely, that it's a false story that she was taken, and that she actually went away with the family to some secret hideout because something connecting Savannah Guthrie's current husband and, you know, him being the Clinton cleanup guy, and the fact that Savannah is talking to the victims of the alleged victims of Jeffrey Epstein, that there was a lot of stuff that was getting ready to come out, and that the family took her and set this whole fake, you know, kidnapping, abduction, murder, whatever up. That's complete BS. They would not have done that, and they would not have filed false police reports. That's a felony. So just don't even go down that road. Hi, Karen. Nice to meet you. Yeah, that has absolutely nothing to do with it. Now, I'm not saying that she wasn't abducted because of something to do with Savannah. That's very possible. But as far as this being a false story and this whole thing has been made up and they know where she's been the whole time, absolutely not. They would be all facing prison sentences if that were the case. Now, let's talk about Sheriff Nanos. And I don't want to be disrespectful, but so many people are calling him Sheriff Bananos. Well, it turns out, and I've heard this before, some of my viewers have told me this, and I'm not going to make this too long tonight, but apparently he's not such an honest guy. And he does backpedal a lot in his statements. He'll say one thing, and then the next day he contradicts himself. It's like, is he just making this up as he goes along? And there's several articles that have come out saying that the Arizona sheriff leading the search for Nancy Guthrie mistakes his law enforcement employment history on his public resume. Documents obtained revealed late Monday that Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos resigned in lieu of termination from the El Paso Police Department in 1982, 2 years earlier than he indicated on his resume, which has been posted by the agency's website. Nanos, who started his law enforcement career in '76, resigned from his hometown police department in Texas 6 years later to avoid being terminated following a lengthy list of disciplinary issues, including, but not limited to, insubordination, excessive force, off-duty gambling, and tardiness. This guy's a real winner, isn't he? The sheriff has declined to discuss the discrepancy on Monday. Yeah. He's, you know, you lie to me once, you lie to me twice, you lie to me thrice. Have you ever heard that? I know that sounds weird. Once, twice, and thrice. But that just shows a person's morals or their ethics or their character. That he lied on his resume, and apparently he didn't even start working for Pima County right away. He was the only law enforcement position he could get was as a correctional officer. And a lot of those guys are ex-security guards or people who couldn't get into the police department, or they got kicked out of the police department. Yeah, he is a joke, Karen. Putting his past aside, okay, and the fact that he contradicts himself all the time and he keeps changing the timelines and the story, and, you know, this person's a suspect, this person's not a suspect, everybody's a suspect. I don't like what he did with the crime scene, you know, especially since his people that went out, because, you know, he's the top guy. He wasn't out there investigating a missing persons report. But the deputies that showed up immediately called homicide detectives because they thought something was wrong here. And they don't usually do that for a missing person, especially a senior, because most likely they just walked away or something. But whoever responded to the initial call, the deputies that responded, and they saw the blood and they saw an indication of forced entry and they found all the lights on, and the family said, oh, she wouldn't have all these lights on. And then they found the blood droplets in the house, which they won't say where. They found the blood droplets at the front door, and they led away from the front door, but not all the way to the driveway or the street. Like somebody pulled a car like right up to that spot to push her in there, whether living or dead. He called in, or not he, not Nanos, but the detectives were called the homicide detectives, which is very, very unusual. And so that's an indication that it was more than like someone who just went missing or someone who had a senior moment. Like, this is a big situation. And then to realize that she is the mother of Savannah Guthrie, and that this thing is going to blow up, not just national, but international. This is going to be the biggest case. It is the biggest missing person case in the United States, and it has been for 38 days. You would want to be very, very careful if you were the sheriff that you don't F it up. So 20 hours later, even before they were aware of the ransoms that were coming in, they unsecure the crime. Everybody from the pizza man to Amazon to mainstream media to YouTubers to neighbors, just to people that were passing by to see the scene. Looky-loos. Everybody trampled that crime scene. And then when the FBI got there, I know, Karen, it is unreal, isn't it? Hey, Jay. So then when, hi, Don. So, oh, hey, Lady B. So, you know, when they did get the ransoms, a day to two later, they started coming in, one or two to a local police or news station. And then the second day was TMZ. You know, by then the scene had already been unsecure. So they were like, oh, we might actually have a kidnapping here. Like, we better call the FBI. And then the scene had already been compromised by the time the FBI got there. And then, you know, they temporarily yellow taped it so they could go through her garage and tow her car. But then a neighbor points out later that, oh, there's a broken camera, or that, no, there's a camera on the roof and there's a broken strobe light in the back. Like, how did they miss broken glass? Is that even true that they missed the broken glass the first time? Where was the forced entry? They said the back door was wide open. I don't think somebody took her out the back door and walked her or carried her all the way to the car out front. That tells me there's more than one person involved. One person was coming in through the back, breaking in the back, and then that person came to the front door to the guy that was trying to take the camera off in a weird way because he's an amateur. But this is a guy who's had a long law enforcement career since 1976. Think about that. He's been in law enforcement in one capacity or another for 50 years. And he did this. You know, I wouldn't place my bets on this, but if I were the feds coming in, I'd be looking at Nanos. Like, why did he treat this scene this way? And why is he saying that these people are not suspects? And then everybody's a suspect. And then the family is completely clear. I'm telling you, nobody is clear. Just remember that. I will take that to my grave on this if it's not solved by then. Oh, Dawn, you said Luke Daly's name is back out there. Can you please explain to the viewers, why is Luke Daly's name out there? No, it wasn't Alzheimer's in this case, Lady B. 31 people watching, only 11 thumbs up. Deborah says it has nothing to do with Luke, in my opinion. Don't know. Yeah, could they be looking at Nanos? Like, hello? Exactly. And you know what? I wonder if they have somebody in mind, because just before they brought the family out to kind of, you know, lay the flowers and Savannah was making her grand exit back to New York, the prosecutors were out there. Why were the prosecutors out there with the FBI agents? You only have a prosecutor's involvement when there's someone to prosecute. They were out there looking at something specific. We still don't know why they showed up. I could see if somebody had been arrested already, or they were getting ready to arrest somebody, but why was the prosecutor's office for Pima County, Arizona, at that scene with the FBI being given the grand tour while this scene has already been secured, unsecured, secured, unsecured. And then they're like, oh, she has a septic tank? Oh, I think maybe we should look into that. Oh, there's a broken strobe. Oh, maybe we should look into that. Oh, the camera notices there's a camera up on the roof, but the police, I guess they never bothered to take a look at the roof. I mean, have you ever heard of using a ladder? Have you ever thought about sending a drone to look at the roof? I mean, this is Detective School 101, how to handle a crime scene. My God, I just get so upset about it. Thank you, Karen. I hope you're subscribed, Karen. Dawn says, yes, during his interview, he was well covered hiding tattoos, and he was wearing a pinky ring, and on News Nation, they had mentioned his name being back on the table. Okay. I was wondering if the guy on his right hand that was reaching up for the camera, if he was wearing a watch on his right hand. But it could have been a tattoo. Let's see. Dawn says, authorities are building a case behind the scenes. I sure hope so. Hey, Laura. I was thinking also the Nanos was involved with this whole thing. You know, I'm not going to go as far as to say that, but it's got me scratching my head because it seems like he's going out of his way to F it up. I mean, how could this guy be voted? This is his being a deputy. He would just have applied for the police department and obviously got in on a bunch of lies, and they didn't really check his background very well. And that's on Pima County. But to be the actual head sheriff, you have to be elected. It's an elected position. And he's been elected twice. And apparently he did handle the Gabby Giffords case, the shooting that happened in Tucson where Gabby Giffords was shot. I don't know why this guy is such a celebrity, because apparently a lot of his own detectives have left the department because there's so many problems within the department. And that's on him. You know, like before I had my illness and I had, you know, people working for me, even though they were just subcontractors and not employees, if anybody messed up, it was on me because I'm April Davis of April Davis Investigations. And it all, you know, it all comes down on my head. So, you know, if his detectives are not happy or things are going on in the department, it's up to him to be a leader and to fix it. And someone who's working one of the biggest missing persons cases of all time, he's seen at a spa, he's allegedly seen at a basketball game. He's too busy making media appearances. I mean, his ego is, you know, bigger than I can show you in the camera frame. You have to have it solved in the first 24 to 48 hours or the chances get slimmer and slimmer. Let's see. Who am I about? I'm a licensed private investigator, Betty, in California. What did I miss? Didn't think I'd have this many people in here. 35 people, only 14 thumbs up. Let's hit those thumbs up. Deborah says, but him and his mom are suing Nanos. Do you mean Mary Daly and Luke Daly? Are they suing Nanos, or are they suing Pima County sheriffs? Or are they also naming Nanos in the complaint? Deborah says it wasn't Luke, even though he has his bill. Okay. Eyes aren't right. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, I don't know who it is, but I'm not really sure why they were targeting him other than the vehicle, which by the way, didn't even belong to him the day that this happened. Somebody dumped it really quick. And I think that's the Jordanian man. But is he involved in this? I don't know. I still would like to know the background of him and the vehicle. In my opinion, he's in with the cartel. Who's in with the cartel? The abductor? Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Nancy Guthrie. Dawn says, a wolf in sheep's clothing. He was hiding something. It was extremely hot out. Why would he be wearing what he was wearing? Watch the interview. Which interview? Oh, the Pima County Sheriff in Arizona. Let me know which interview, Dawn. That person could be wearing a skin mask. Yes. Lady B. Someone in a chat said you have to depress something in a hole on top of the Nest camera to remove it to charge. So they thought the suspect was going to use a twig from the stuff he pulled up. Maybe. Probably the whole department. All Things Country. Hey there. How you doing, friend? Got you running in the sugar shack, April. These prosecutors love getting their face on the news for a future book deal. Could be. Could all be for show. Betty, I will tell you for the last time, we're talking about Nancy Guthrie. The guy in the mask looks like big eyes. Yes, it does. They also look kind of bloodshot, like the guy was older or the guy was high. But he didn't seem to have the body of an older person. Thank you, V. Appreciate that. We are talking about Luke. Luke Daly. DJ, we're not talking about that tonight. So I'll just this is a little verbal warning here. If we keep talking about that, we'll have to put you in a timeout. But thanks for coming in. Don, his first interview, to clear his name, can't remember the woman's name he was being interviewed by. I'll have to find that out again. Oh, I know, with the local newscaster that interviewed his mom and interviewed him in separate interviews. Yeah, he did seem a little nervous in that interview, but that's not an indication of guilt in this case. His mom seemed a little out of it, I thought. And apparently she was caught in a couple of mistruths in her interview. We still don't know why Luke was on the table. Was Luke on the table because of something that was reported by Kayla? Did Kayla sing like a bird when she was picked up on unrelated warrants the day before that raid? Because the timing of that raid is very suspicious with her being picked up, who Luke claims is not even his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. Who knows? But those yahoos are, some of them are allegedly connected to this S cult that's connected to this Mojito DJ dude who is a local band promoter who promotes both Tommaso's band and the guy that lives in either Torrance or Hawthorne that also has a very dark goth type of band called Secret Mutilator. And then he was the one that sent the copycat ransom demands via text to Annie and Tommaso. And we have no idea how he had their personal phone numbers. Yes, Barbara Bree. What was her name? Is it Brianna? I'm not familiar with the newscasters in Tucson. Deborah says, yes, Annie is weird. Well, speaking of that, when they went into this whole cult thing, they talked about her and her husband. I've heard it was just her, or I've heard it was both of them, that they're Wiccans or something. And I looked that up and it means that they're witches, and I was like, is that just some like crazy story? Or is there any truth to that? Like, I don't understand that whole pagan, satanic crowd. And you know what? People that are involved in that, they do ceremonies. Oh, my bunny's here asking for a treat. They do ceremonies, like sacrifices and stuff. The people that are really dark. I mean, like the really dark people that go out in the desert and kill things. And those people do their black magic or whatever on full moon. And, Nancy was taken on full moon. Yeah, rituals and sacrifices. That's what I was trying to say, Deborah. I was looking at the money. Those people do apparently become active on full moon. So that just puts a whole nother spin on it for me. Like, why would they take an 84-year-old woman, for some satanic ritual or sacrifice? And what's weird about this, Deborah? I don't know if you were following me then. Hold on. All Things Country says Wiccan is not satanic, not my thing or anything, but lots of people practicing with crystals and stuff like that that they claim are Wiccan. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. What was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought. Something about the full moon and the rituals. Oh, it was very important too. And I saw, see, I shouldn't do this when I'm tired. Oh, the mediums. Okay, Deborah mentioned the mediums. Okay, remember I mentioned that I went down the spirit box rabbit hole, and there's a lady that's in Australia named Dolly, but that's not the name of her channel, because there's somebody else that's reporting on this named Dolly. But this lady, she's in Australia, and it's one of her two daughters that like puts on like a headset, like headphones, and the mom calls out the questions to the spirit box, but instead of you hearing the, and the radio signals going, and then the answer, the daughter, like who's got the headset, she's privately hearing the answers, and then she calls it out. Well, on the second one that she did, the follow-up one, and I'm not saying I believe in any of this, but on the second one, when she was calling out the names or the words that she just picked up on the box, she yelled the word vampires. And I was like, because I was writing all this stuff down, because I talk about it in some of my subsequent live videos, and I was like, vampires? Like, what? Like, and then now all this stuff is coming about some of these possible suspects being connected to a band promoter who's involved in a fetish cult, and some of these members may be Wiccans, and they're pagans, but they're not Satanists. And I'm like, I don't involve myself in any cases. This is not something that I'm an expert at all. And then they were talking about these burial boxes out in the desert, and how, I know like at Halloween, you're supposed to lock up your black cats because they'll be sacrificed. And a lot of these rituals do occur on full moon. And then it made me think about, remember the lady in Australia, her daughter yelled out vampires. Like, I'm saying revenge or money. It's connected to somebody after Savannah for revenge or money, or it's someone very close to her. But they're not finding anything. But you've got this Bananos guy who's in charge in Pima County that, can't even put the correct dates on his resume. And I don't think that's by accident. I think that's intentional. And he's not working closely with the FBI, who already came in a little too late. Because you wouldn't call the FBI if somebody was just missing, abducted, murdered, robbed, burglarized. But if you knew that there could be a potential for kidnapping, and it could be over state lines, then you will call. If there's a ransom, then you call the FBI. And I'm going to read it one more time. All Things Country. I'm going to read this again just so I can learn. And thank you for posting this. Wiccan is not satanic, not my thing or anything, but lots of people practicing with crystals and stuff like that claim they are Wiccan. Does that mean witch? Kelly says, easy to grab, abduct. All Things Country. I still go back to what you just said, April. Why an 84-year-old? Because of the money trail is what I'm thinking, or somebody who's after Savannah. And the only reason I said that from the beginning is because my career as a PI, I have seen this. Not a lot, but I have seen, well, celebrities are targeted every single day for money. But if you're rich and you're famous, you have a bullseye on your back. And I have seen celebrities or their families be targeted for kidnappings. Usually kidnappings these days are domestically related as far as children. A non-custodial parent taking a child or a grandparent taking a child. But with the celebrities, it's more about, let's target them for money. And so that's why I thought, oh my God, this is the mother Savannah Guthrie. Oh my God, poor Savannah. This is gonna hurt her heart so much if it's connected to her. But then when I started learning all the different characters that were involved and all the different possibilities, then I was like, it's somebody close. It's one or the other. But now, people are going down this fetish cult rabbit hole, And I hear the word vampires, but, you know, this wasn't from like an actual detective. This was from a spirit box reader who has a really big YouTube channel. And a monetized one, by the way, which I do not. So people are willing to say anything, you know, for clicks, especially when her daughter's reading out the answers, but you can't actually hear them coming from the radio. I mean, this could all be fake scripted BS as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. Okay, we talked about the January 11th date and why that's important now. We talked about, I have not seen part 2 of The Lifeboat. The guy that's the former bank robber, reformed criminal guy. I think his name is Tommy. Only saw him once. He seemed like an okay dude. He's also got a very successful channel, and he's the one that's connecting all these yahoos through this cult, alleged cult. Then we've gone over that this was all a false story that was generated by the Guthrie family to relocate her, and that's the biggest crock of dog you know what, dog doo-doo that I've ever heard of. They did not commit crimes and file false police reports and put her blood out and rip her cameras down and, you know, tear up her house so they could relocate their mother. I can't even believe that I have to tell you this, that there's something like that floating out there. And we've talked about Sheriff Nanos Bananos and his dishonesty. And that indicates to me no character, and I say it all the time in the detective business. You lie to me once, you lie to me twice, you lie to me thrice. 3 strikes, you're out. So even if it was something he did when he was younger, it still shows lack of character. Oh, hi, Humble. Didn't see you come in. She's a goner. No way, she is still just missing. Absolutely. But I still hope they find her, Humble. Deborah, some other one on YouTube was a medium. She said they were sucking her blood and that she couldn't finish the reading. I'm not saying it's true, but I know this world is crazy. Well, I also heard, you know, on the lady from Australia, the first time she said that, you know, she was talking to her spirit and that she was upset. Apparently she gathered that she was upset that the family didn't pay the ransom because she felt she wasn't worthy enough. And then I was like, oh my God, don't get sucked into this, because it made me feel like I wanted to cry. Like, did she really feel that way in her last moments, that she was going to die because the family wasn't going to pay the ransom because she wasn't worthy enough? Like, I hope that something like that never happened. Let's see. Deborah says, Nancy Grace tonight. Oh, I missed her tonight. My buddy Nancy. Tonight states someone saw her in Mexico, but I heard about that story 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Somebody claimed that in not the ransom notes, but someone was demanding money, saying that they knew where she was and that they knew who had her, and that the primary, meaning that there was more than one, that they would have to go international, and that they saw her in Mexico and they were told to shut up. But that could just all be a ploy to get money, because you have the people that are sending the ransoms that are saying they want 6 million in Bitcoin, and then you have the sender of the subsequent notes to TMZ saying, we know where she is, and, you know, we saw her in Mexico, and, you know, yada, yada, yada. And that is from an alleged former burglar who doesn't want to get in trouble for ratting somebody out. But, you know, it could be just more copycats out there. Kelly says, I agree, Humble. Yeah. Oh, hi, Alam. How are you? The Humble Stacker, no vampires. She is just gone, in my opinion. Yeah. I would hope it's not vampires and that it was some sort of full moon, you know, ritual. It's just, I would just like fall over dead if it was something like that. I wouldn't be able to believe it. Deborah says, you can watch Dad's gone live right now, and he's in front of Nancy's house. I've heard of him. I was watching another YouTube channel today, and they were like, oh, there's Dad's gone live. Or no, there's Dad's gone. I guess that's what, I've never seen him, but I've heard of him. And he's in front. Not great, because even though more people are watching the channel, Kelly, she's asking, how am I doing with the number of watch hours? Every day it goes up so many ticks, but then the last day of the year falls off because they only count 365 days. So then the next day it's like, oh, here's another 80 hours, or here's another 60 hours, or here's another 100 hours, but they take the back end off. So it's helping that everybody's like watching and they're doing the replays. I appreciate that, and they're watching in the background. Some of you guys, thank you so much. But I still don't have enough people watching, even with all the new subscribers that have come in. So I was starting to get down on that today and thought I wasn't even going to go live. All Things Country says, celebrity or rich people is about ending it quick for money. Random 84-year-old, not so much. Well, she is the mother of Savannah Guthrie. So if they targeted her, they would target her for, you know, if it had something to do with her daughter, that's why, to get to Savannah. Deborah Manchester says, Dad's gone live right now at Nancy's. Okay. Who's Dad? It's a YouTube channel, Kelly. Deborah says Bitcoin. All Things Country, LOL, she's 84. If I was here and was there, I'd be like, meh, was a good run. Yes, I think that's all bull. Me too, All Things, says Jay. Yeah, she could hardly walk, never mind walking around Mexico. Exactly. And they would have had to have taken her across the border. 90 who? I haven't seen you before. Welcome in. Learn to vertical farm and learn to filter your water for future. I have no idea what that means. Fabian, any new updates? Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning. That the date January the 11th is somewhat significant. Lion says, everyone I see online is lying and wasting people's time. You know, there's a lot of people saying all kinds of garbage just for clicks. What are we doing here? We're talking about Nancy Guthrie. Fabian says, in my opinion, it is organized crime. It could be, but I doubt it. Deborah, yes, we have many stories and questions. Blame Nanos for that. Yeah, I agree with you, Deborah. Yeah, January the 11th. That was a date that they were interested in, thinking that maybe some of the Nest doorbell video that they got out of the cloud, that it was two separate dates, and that maybe perhaps it could have been the 11th. And apparently they don't have dates, so everybody was like, well, why are they focused on that date? And that's because a neighbor has since come to the police saying that she saw a strange man walking through the neighborhood suspiciously with a hat down and, you know, going really slowly past Nancy's house in advance of the crime. You know, like casing the place. Fabian, too professional. There's no way they'd have that much luck. In regards to what, Fabian? I missed something. Ina says, do I think family could be involved? I say that nobody is excluded as a suspect. Nobody has been scratched off my list. Well, except for little Carlos Palazuelos, our little DoorDash guy. I sure hope he's not involved. I say everybody send Carlos a pizza to his mother-in-law's place. He doesn't even have a place to live. He's just staying with his mother-in-law, and they messed up his car, and, you know, and his van is down that he delivers, and he doesn't have his phone, supposedly, according to his lawyer. Carlos is he's gonna get a little coin out of this from Pima County. So that's the only one I have excluded in my mind is Carlos Palazuelos. Lion says it's also angel numbers, so it could be entirely intentional. I don't know what that means. Angel numbers. Deborah says, yes, I believe it was family. I would definitely have them as suspects, but I don't know that they are involved. Lion says, sorry to be cringe, but maybe a spiritual advisor, if anything. It doesn't hurt. I've heard that too. I've heard that he's also, Deborah Manchester states Tommaso was a gambler. I've heard that, and I've heard that he has some very large debts at a Mexican casino. Now, that could be complete bullcrap. There's all kinds of rumors going around. Everything now from vampires to fetish cults. Anything is possible. Fabian, leaving no trace. Well, we don't know that because they're still trying to go through the DNA that was either contaminated or crossed with other samples. Deborah says, I believe he owed money. I know somebody owed something because Nancy had the second mortgage on the house that still nobody is talking about. I'd like to know why. But, she's not here for me to ask her that. Ina says, I agree. That's very possible, Deborah. And he asked Nancy for money, and she said no. Possible. Tess says, but the sheriff said the immediate family are cleared. I don't care what he says. Regular Joes are just not that smart. A professional abductor wouldn't have picked up plants next to the front door to obscure the camera. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And he uses gloves that probably have DNA on them to do so. Deborah, and why Andy's car never returned after all this time? I will reiterate. I will also go to my grave with this. The car is a piece of evidence in an active criminal investigation. The car apparently, because I wasn't writing this down at the beginning, I didn't think this would go on this long, but it was taken the first week. We are in week 6. All the others that have been detained have their cars back. They've spent more time at Annie and Tommaso's house doing forensics than they spent at the scene of the crime. And yes, you always exclude the people closest. You always exclude the last people or person who saw her. But, you release a crime scene in 20 hours and you spent the last 6 weeks holding evidence that belongs to Annie and Tommaso. Just saying. Not naming them as suspects at all, though. They could be totally not involved in this. I must have missed somebody. Who is Zina? All things country. Won't somebody think of poor Carlos? Oh, God, poor Carlos. I just want to give him a big hug. I want to give Savannah a hug, too, but, I don't know her, so that would not be appropriate. Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Welcome in. To be family, to me, there's no way. You would be surprised what families are involved in. Look at the Menendez brothers. Look at O.J. Simpson. I could go on and on. I don't care what he says, too. Exactly, Deborah Manchester. No, Ina, he's not. We don't know what he's doing behind the scenes, but no, he's not putting his best foot forward. Sant 1982, welcome back. Prosecutors made Nancy's house to verify certain information given by Derek Kaya, or Kalala, or Kaya, however we're pronouncing it, if in process of making a plea deal. There's a possibility because Derek was able to post bail the very next day and walk out of the courthouse not incarcerated. He walked very quickly. Now, he's still pending trial, but he was able to walk out that door very quick and confess to his deeds, his misdeeds, immediately. If Kelsa is rolling on all involved, possibly Luke Daly one of them. Possible. Remember, if you go down this dark cult thingy that's connected to secret mutilator and DJ Mojito and Kayla Day, excuse me, and the girl that showed up, the goth girl with the goth guy, they call her goth porn star. She was doing a photo shoot in front of, Nancy's house. Very disrespectful. Those people are supposedly all in this, this cult. And now they've thrown Annie and Tommaso under the bus saying they're Wiccans. And I'm like, does that mean she's a witch? And then you got the lady in the spirit box in Australia on the other side of the ocean saying vampires. I don't know. I can't even possibly go there anymore. And how did Derek Kelsa or Kaya have Annie Tommaso's private cell numbers? And of course they turned it over to the police immediately because, apparently they were being looked at. But I thought the police already had their phones by then. So maybe the cops already had the phones at the time. But they're saying, no, Annie Tommaso turned that information over to FBI. Who knows? Kelly, I don't know. If a child asked mom for money, I bet most moms would take out another mortgage to help out. I know. But it could have been something as simple as repairs on the house. But at the time, she would have been in her mid to late 70s. And the mortgage was for 35 years at $168 a month. What? She's lived in a house since 1975. It was probably paid off decades ago. She might have needed money for repairs. That's a big house. There's a lot of upkeep. Regular Joe's not smart. Deborah, Nano couldn't find himself if he was missing. He might not be able to find water if he fell out of a boat. If they had anything, why wait to make an arrest, Fabian says. Because they're gathering more evidence so that when they do detain and arrest somebody, that they've got a rock-solid case. They could be surveilling top suspects right now. We just don't know it. Deborah, everyone got their car back. Well, except for Annie Tommaso, as far as I know, unless something has changed. Kelly Ray says, my first guess is that it was going to be Tommaso. Possible. Why make Savannah suffer if it was family? A family doesn't care about family sometimes. Deborah says, no, this is my opinion on Annie, not facts. Yeah, everything here is just an opinion, a possibility. Kelly says, no, they still have Annie and Tommaso's car. As far as I know, they do. Boston Bill says, well, I hope they find her and wrap this up. I hope so, too. Sarah Harden is saying thank you. And for what, Sarah? Boston Bill says, absolutely. I'm so behind on the chat. Deborah, because people will do anything for money, even family. I know, I just lost my dad and I got siblings coming after me. I do these kind of cases. I did all the time when I was full-time before my cancer. Lots of death cases, a lot of things having to do with, I've done homicides, I've done work accidents and deaths. I've done a lot of life insurance work, a lot of elder abuse cases. And yeah, there's always problems when, somebody in the family passes, especially a parent, and there's multiple siblings involved. Of course, that wasn't an issue in my family because my parents didn't have anything. So when they died, nobody got, anything. Boston Bill, he was guilty, OJ. Well, a civil court said that he was guilty, just not a criminal court. But that jury has already since come forward. Recently, it admitted that they just gave it and innocent as a favor over the Rodney King thing. They were given a big to the LAPD because of Rodney King, and that's why OJ got off. Jay agrees with Boston. Fabian, Mendoza. Oh, you mean the Mendez brothers? Or Menendez, excuse me. It threw me off when I saw Mendoza. Are you referring to the Menendez brothers? Admitted they unalived them, yes. But there's a lot of extenuating circumstances there that can be proven. And they didn't get a fair shake for their the first trial was a hung jury. And as if to, you know, if it was really a planned murder in the first degree, or could they just get them for manslaughter? And it was a hung jury. And then the second trial, they weren't allowed to bring in any of the sex abuse because the LA County prosecutors had bumbled the O.J. Simpson case. And so they were under pressure, especially when the first Menendez trial was a hung jury. And then they just rotted in jail. And not to say that they didn't do it and they shouldn't be punished, because they should. But there was a lot of extenuating circumstances, and had they been convicted of the right charges, they would have already been out of prison long ago. Yes, Bob, what an interesting case that was. 32 years ago. Are we talking about the Menendez case still? Deborah says, yes, disturbing. Exactly, says Deborah. Fabian, OJ, if I don't fit, you must acquit. Well, that's because that glove, there was another glove, like a medical glove, that was underneath that glove. When OJ tried it on, you can't, I've tried that myself. Put on a rubber glove and then try to put on your own glove and it won't fit. Maybe her daughter Savannah owns the house. I don't know who owns the house because I've not done a title search on the house. Taxes too, says Ina. Oh, thank you, Deborah. That would actually help. I would appreciate that. Deborah says, so sad. Yeah, this keeps me up at night. Jay says, sometimes glad I was an only child. Lucky you. Added 4 great sisters when I got married. Lucky you. I was an only child for 5 years. I believe the Menendez brothers need to be let out. That's actually possibly quite true. There's a lot of things I know about that case because I remember the night that happened. I live over the hill from Beverly Hills, and I was ill and I was up late at night and I couldn't sleep, and I had the radio on when that happened. They were definitely abused, I believe. O.J. Simpson was 32 years ago. Yeah, that happened in Brentwood, where I worked at the time, and the street that he lived was on the same street as some of our clients, 4 houses down. And literally, we were working out of the Peter Lorre estate in Brentwood, right on the border where the far north side of Santa Monica, the south end of Pacific Palisades, and the far edge of Brentwood all come together in one intersection at the end of that street. And it was crazy when that happened. Oh my God, and the constant helicopters flying over, and they had the mirrors, and they were even on the property where we were, there was like woods behind it, and if you went up a hill, OJ's house was across the street, and he wasn't locked up right away, so that was just, that hit too close to home. Deborah, Tommaso was her power of attorney. I have heard that, but I have not confirmed that. And then he gave it to Annie 4 months before the disappearance. I have not heard that, and I haven't researched that, but that could be true, Deborah. I don't know. Yeah, they were looking for the bloody knife with the mirrors from the helicopters, but it wasn't in Brentwood, the bloody knife. It was either dumped at the garbage can at the airport, or it was taken away with the bloody clothes that were given in the suitcase to Robert Kardashian Sr. That was a really bad situation. But that case is all connected to why the Menendez brothers didn't get a fair shake during their second trial. And they still should have served time, and they have served time. But based on the abuse, they should have only been charged with manslaughter and not first-degree murder. And as crazy as it sounds, yeah, they probably should be out by now. It's just their lives are ruined forever because of, you know, what their parents did and what they did in return. But if everybody that, you know, killed their parents because of either physical abuse, mental abuse, or sexual abuse, then, you know, there'd be a lot of dead parents out there, because there's a lot of sick families that have abuse in the family. Maybe not like to the extent that they had, but even their cousin, their Cuban cousin, Andy Cano, he died because of, he had to live with the guilt of not talking about all he knew at the trial. And then I think he thought they were going to be let go that second trial, and they weren't. And he died shortly thereafter. He just couldn't handle the stress of it. You know, things like that just keep going for generations to generations, all the problems because of something like that. Yeah, that Jose Menendez was not a good man. Fabian says, I believe they have the car because of that. The car could help confirm the exact timeline, whether Nancy actually arrived home, whether someone followed the vehicle. Absolutely. There's all kinds of clues they can get from that car. And I believe they still have Nancy's car as well. Don't forget Nancy's car was also taken. But after the house had been unsecured. You know, so that evidence could be questionable. Any evidence that's been gathered at that house could be questioned in a court of law by a good defense attorney. And I bet whoever they catch, they'll have a top defense attorney. Hopefully there's a lot more that they know that we don't know yet, and that something's going to come down soon, but I'm kind of doubting that, considering we're 6 weeks into this. Exactly, Fabian. I've talked about this on so many of my videos, and I know you've been here before. Why are they not putting the boots on the ground out there, especially in the desert surrounding Tucson? Because, you know, next week in LA, we're going to be in the 90s. If it's going to be in the 90s here, I can't even imagine what the weather will be like in Tucson. And once the desert goes hot, there's probably no turning back. And they'll be slammed like April, May, June, July, August, September, sometimes until October. And then they'll have the monsoonal storms in the desert that we don't have too much of that here. We have a little bit of it here, but not as bad as like Tucson and Phoenix and Vegas, where just massive amount of water comes down. It can't even soak into the ground because there's not even soil. It's just like sand and rock. And so then everything floods and everything just washes away, and the evidence will just be gone. Horseback four-wheelers, nothing. Exactly. Sent 1982. Sleuth Intuition YouTube channel. Show on 2/17/26. Worth watching. Nancy Guthrie case. Luke Daly. Kayla Day. William, is it Hubie or Hub? Oh, pronounced Hubie. I didn't even see that. Ex-husband of Kayla Day and lives close by. I've heard that name before. The William Hubie. I've heard that name in relation to Kayla Day. Yeah, I think somebody mentioned that before. Because I was like, oh, I haven't heard that name before. And then Mary Daly was Luke's mom. Her interview was a little strange, I think. Luke seemed super nervous, but I would be nervous too if somebody was, you know, calling me a suspect. And there's also a rumor that the family has been polygraphed. I have no way to confirm that. I don't even know if that's true. I kind of doubt that. Yes, it was. In relation to what? I've already lost my train of thought. It's getting late here. And I know it's probably much later where you guys are. In fact, speaking of that, I hope you guys have all given me a thumbs up. Where is everybody coming in from tonight? Yeah, they couldn't admit it into evidence. It's a good tool, though. It's a very good investigative tool if you have the right polygrapher who knows how to use it, because it takes real skill. It's kind of like psychological warfare. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, says Kelly. The interview was off. Yeah, okay. You mean the one with Luke? Luke Daly? Jay says Indy. I'd love to live in Indy in May and go to the Indy 500. Even though I know it's not really in Indy, it's in like Motor City or something. Close enough. Have you ever been to the Indy 500, Jay? I mean, I couldn't see myself there now walking around with my cane, but oh, that would be awesome to experience that at least once in a lifetime. Oh, you have been? Oh, great. You know, I was out on a case once and there was nothing going, and I installed an app on my phone, and I can't remember the name, and it's like What's Nearby or something like that. And I was in the West Valley, the West San Fernando Valley, and I learned that there was a small cemetery that was in a church. And there was some guy, I think his name was Floyd. I can't remember if that was his first name or last name, but like in the 30s, he won the Indy 500 and he was going to retire. And then they asked him like, well, can you come back one more year just because you were the champion? And so he said, okay, he would just do the one extra race, and he had to use the same car because it was a totally different, sport back in the day, a totally different track and setup. It was a dirt track. And on the last race that he should have never raced because he had already gone out a champion, there was an accident in front of him that caused him to run off the track, and he ran through the barrier and hit a tree and was killed. And somehow, even though I think he was from Kansas or someplace, he was buried behind a church that was down the street from a case I was doing. I think I was out in possibly Chatsworth. I know it was right underneath the Santa Susana Mountain Pass, which is really famous. Yeah, I was like, wow, I never even heard of that guy. Very interesting history. Hot and expensive food. Attended the trials the week before, free tickets. Woo! I bet it's expensive. Yeah, you have to be like a millionaire now to go to Dodger Stadium, and I wouldn't be able to walk that far anyway. So I hope if my Major League Baseball experiment that I talked about on another video, I hope the Dodgers don't say, hey, she's local, let's send her some tickets. Because how am I going to get from the parking lot up all the stairs and the elevators? And, it's impossible. There's like 50,000 people, and like, that would be so nice. Like, oh, we really like your letter, and here's some tickets. Like, just send me some signed cards or some pictures or something. Or a hat, or an extra large shirt. Yeah, I'm an extra large now, not a medium anymore. Oh, you saw a bad wreck. Yeah, that was interesting though. I have to remember who that guy is. Something Floyd or Floyd something. I just know that if you look up Indy 500 drivers that have been killed, you'll see like from the 30s that this guy was killed. And I'm pretty sure he was from the Midwest. I think it might have been Kansas. And why he's buried behind this little church out in the Northwest San Fernando Valley, I have no clue. Didn't even know there was a cemetery out there. And I thought, wow, I wish I wasn't on this surveillance right now. I'd drive over there and check it out. DC is having some kind of race. I hadn't heard that. Yeah, they had a Formula One race, which isn't the same as Indy in Vegas recently, in bad weather. I thought that was ridiculous. Okay, Hubie served 11 years for human smuggling from Mexico. Oh yeah, resulting in death. This federal crime was committed on 1/18/15. Hubie in the Hells Angels. Oh yeah, I remember researching him a while back when I heard that name associated with Kayla Day. And was he married to Kayla Day at one time? He was a former Hells Angel, or he was a Hells Angel? And there was some sort of car wreck during the smuggling and somebody got killed? Is he connected to Kayla Day? Is he married to Kayla or was? And supposedly she's connected to this fetish S cult that's connected to this mojito, that's connected to the guy that sent the text to Annie and Tommaso, but yet Tommaso's band is also promoted by the same band promoter. It's like, what a tangled web we weave, as I said yesterday's show. You can be a former Hell's Angel. I don't know, can you? Oh, he is the ex-husband of Kayla Day, okay. Is it just me, or do you think that Tommaso is associated with some really weird people? Or is that just me? Just saying. I mean, his crowd and Annie's crowd doesn't seem to jive with Savannah's crowd. Doesn't mean anything, though. I'm not here to judge. And we're definitely not here to point the finger at anybody. And I say that in every single one of my videos, innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Dawn says, yes, April, I do too. I believe he knows some very bad people. Yeah. Yeah, if I were the detectives in this case, or even a private investigator, which I am, but not involved in this case, I would be looking into all the financials, and I would be doing title searches on the property, and I'd be looking at everybody's bank accounts, and how did Annie and Tommaso qualify for the loan when he's a 6th grade science teacher, like, and she's a poet who might be a witch? Like, is that even true? I mean, I know the poet part is true. Do you make money as a poet? I mean, I have an analytical mind. And it's funny because all my friends, especially living in LA, like my best friend is a former movie star from Asia. And my very close friend that passed, she was a famous Canadian. She did some, things here that she's known for. But all my neighbors, they're all like actors or in the music business. And they always tell me, like, April, you're a creative. And I'm like, no, I wish I was, because then I'd have a successful YouTube channel. My brain doesn't, I don't sew. I can cook, but I don't sew. I don't knit. I don't crochet. I don't needlepoint. I can't draw a stick figure. I can't carry a tune. There's all kinds of musical genes in my family. I can't play an instrument. I'm interested in cameras. Ever since I was a kid, I had cameras, and I would always act out I would write these commercials and perform them with the family dog, in front of my friends, and, just stupid crap like that. But, oh my God. Yeah, I come from a family of engineers, so my brain is more mechanically wired than creatively wired. But how do you, like, unless you're writing lyrics for Taylor Swift, I know I've said this before, like, how do you make money as a poet? Dawn, I agree. Innocent until proven guilty, someone will eventually get caught. Absolutely. But because this is such a big case, even if they have people on their radar, they're going to make darn sure that they cross the T's and they dot the I's. They don't want to have another Carlos Palazuelos situation or a Luke Daly or a Mary Daly situation on their hands. They want to be dang sure. And none of those people are excluded. Well, except for little Carlos. He's such a cutie. I feel so bad for him. Wouldn't it be funny if he was connected and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so ill-informed. But remember, I'm not working this case. I'm simply reporting this case. And there's so much misinformation out there. And if I say something and I say a name wrong or I pronounce something wrong, I'll put it in the video description and say, hey, or on the next day I'll say, I have to make a correction. I'm watching a video right now from Nancy's house that I think was taken earlier today. There's a lot of workers going in and out of that place. Jay says, I am an analytical too. My dad was both numbers and piano and stringed instruments. You know, my dad was a musician. That's how he paid for his engineering school, as a professional musician. So you can be an analytical and a creative. My mom even played piano. I only wanted to play or learn drums, but my parents wouldn't buy them. Bet Annie moves into that house. She better not. They find this woman dead, they need to sell that house and split the money. And if they are by just any chance implicated in the crime, then they should not be entitled to any compensation whatsoever. And there should be some sort of law against that. Like if they are found out to be involved and then they're like, oh, we're going to get part of the life insurance, or we're going to get the house, or we're going to get part of the house. Absolutely no way. And they should be locked up forever. Only if, not just if they're arrested, but if it can be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. Kelly said, I had a big crush on a drummer in high school. Dawn says, if not, they might have already. I don't think so. I don't think they're living there. I don't think anybody's living there right now. Jay says, I love drums to death now to learn. You know, I came into a junior high school or middle school in the 8th grade, but I wasn't there for 6th and 7th. I was at a private school. And so when I came into public in the 8th grade, anything that I wanted to do, like band or certain electives, they were like, oh no, you can't choose because you weren't here since, you would have had to been here since the 6th grade. And I'm like, you know, what if I could play? And they're like, it wouldn't matter. Like, we wouldn't be able to let you in because you weren't here since the 6th grade. You know, and I think that's where they test people to see if they have any, you know, musical ability. But that would be the only instrument I would be interested in learning. But you know, I don't see myself as a creative. I know we've gone a little off topic here, but you know, I was in color guard for marching band, says Dawn. Oh, those were the fun days. I went to Shaw for my freshman year and the first semester of my sophomore year. And then I had to take some time off due to recurring throat infections that they couldn't cure because they wouldn't give me the surgery that I needed since I was 4. And so I went into a home program just to stay caught up. But I was, you know, very good at that, so well that I was actually able to jump ahead. And I ended up graduating 1 year and 2 months early. And it was a good thing that I did because we ended up moving what would have been my senior year. And it allowed me to start college early, and it allowed me to move to LA when I was 18 to come home. So yeah, I was there 9th grade and first semester of 10th grade. Yeah, I was there for the big murder, but we won't go into that here, where I almost walked in on it. You will tell me who you were crushing on later. Okay. Jay, my son, like my dad, could play piano after a month of high school piano. Wow. Yeah, it was the only time after I got out of private in the 7th grade, and I never opened a book afterward because the 8th grade was my first year in public. That was my party year. That was Hillsdale. And then that pretty much carried over to the 9th grade. But then the 2nd semester of the 10th grade, when I had missed more than 10 days, which you couldn't do, and we even went to different doctors in town begging. And they were like, oh, we think you have a hidden infection. And I'm like, it's not hidden, it's my throat. And I was right, because when I finally had that surgery, when I was, you know, a grown-up, when they got into the operation, they found that I was even infected on the operating table, which caused a complication in surgery, and it could have killed me. So I had 15 years of my childhood where I was, let me just get my stress ball here. This is making me stressful. You know, it worked out for the best, but there was a lot of unnecessary suffering. Somebody such as my parents, especially my mother, since my dad was always working and out of town all the time, she should have advocated more for me and had the situation taken care of. But just saying, yeah, I loved Hillsdale, but I came in on the 8th grade in, and they were like, well, you can't take this, you can't take this, and they tested me and they saw that I was smart enough for advanced classes, but they're like, oh, we can't put you in those because you were here in the 6th grade, and you should have taken these tests starting in the 1st grade. And I'm like, I've been in private school where I've been taking like college level classes. And I did that too with the home program. Instead of taking the easy one, I took the hard one that was all college level classes. But I learned so much during that short time, and I got to graduate early, and then I got to travel, and then we moved, and I had a semester off, and you know, I spent that semester mostly in New Jersey with my best friend. And so in hindsight, I'm so glad that I graduated early, but the circumstances really sucked. And then I spent my time in 3 different colleges, still don't have a degree, and then went to a detective school and beat everybody in the class, including all the law enforcement officers, and that got me hired. And there was an emergency on February 24th, 1984 in Beverly Hills, and my phone went ringy dingy dingy, and usually I was never home, and there was no pagers back then, no answering machines, no cell phones, and I just happened to have got the call before I was going to walk out that door, and it changed my life. So, yeah, they couldn't find my adenoids. They said they were already shriveled up, but that was my first surgery. And that was probably the worst surgery I ever had, even worse than a mastectomy. Now they have a completely different surgery. I think they do it with lasers. It's not as bad. No, because they were retired. A retired cop is just that, retired. And most of them don't have a clue when it comes to PI work. And I knew that I couldn't learn to be a PI in a PI school, but I could learn what a PI does. And anybody who wants to be a PI, I can tell you right now, you don't have to go to school for this. You're a professional information gatherer, and it's actually a profession. You have to have a professional license. You have to have insurance up to $5 million. You know, it's not like what you see on TV. But by being in the school and beating everybody out, and being that shining star, I was going to be the one that the agencies were going to pull from, because I graduated top of my class. And so that got my foot in the door. And one thing led to another, and my eyes weren't good enough for law enforcement, and here we are 42 years later. And I have a YouTube channel now with 2,000 subscribers. All that to get me here. Actually, I met some cool officers in there. There was an officer that came in to do a speech. He did one class, and it was an LA County Sheriff's deputy that sometimes the regular teachers would leave in lieu of substitutes that would come in just for a particular topic. And the guys that came in were the ones that had retrieved Natalie Wood when she passed away. So I learned a lot of the inside details about that. Like, wow. Met a lot of cool people through that agency. In fact, I think that's the first time I ever saw her sister, was through that agency. She was friends with the owner, but I would see her all over town. I know people that know her, but I don't think I've ever said hello to Lana. I don't know how well she's doing. She had a daughter that I think was around my age who passed away. So, yeah, things happen. Everybody's got something. But let's get back to the topic here, and let's just pray for Nancy Guthrie. I'm going to make this short tonight. We're at 84 minutes. I got to take my my heart pills in, well, maybe 45 minutes. Yeah, that is a very interesting case. Yeah, I learned a lot that night about that case. But yeah, I guess it all worked out that I graduated early, even though it was a sucky situation. But because of that, I never got to go to my graduation ceremony, and I never got my class ring or my cap and gown, and I don't get invited to any of the reunions. But, I don't think I'd go to the reunions anyhow. And it turns out the school that they didn't have the program locally, so I had to go to a program that was out of state, and it turns out a lot of celebrities and athletes went to the same school. But my parents made me take the hard classes, the college level classes. And I remember some friends would come over to visit in the summer, and they'd be like, "Come on, April, let's go hang out." And I'm like, "Sorry, I got to study." And it was the only time since I got out of private school that I ever opened a book, was when I push. But then there was one little break during that time because I had to go on a trip to California with my family. And then about a week later, there was a relative that died, and I had to drive my mother to Illinois. So I had about 2 weeks in California and a week in Illinois. And then I just came home, and, I'd be up 20 hours a day just cramming those books, because I had to make a decision before my junior year if I was going to go back to the high school or if I was just going to continue with the program. And my mom thought I should continue with the program because she said, "I don't think we're going to be living here much longer, and then you'll have to transfer, and a lot of your credits won't transfer out from this high school because they won't even have those courses like in bigger cities. Then you'll be behind instead of being ahead." And I didn't want to have to go backwards. But it's funny because ever since then, for the last, how many years now, 40 years, I have dreams that I'm stuck in school somewhere in the past, and they're like, "No, but you have to do this again. You have to take this over." And I'm like, "No, I already took this. And I already took these classes over." And they're like, "No, but you have to do it again." And it's just like, if I'm very stressed out or I'm sick, I'll dream that I'm in school and I can't find my classes. I can't find my locker. I realize I haven't been here for years. Like, well, why haven't I been here? It's like a time warp, and everything's all messed up. I looked up the LAPD detective exam since I love watching the shows, and it's pretty cool. They flash a picture of a scene, then you have to remember the road name, color, and of the bus. Oh, okay. I was actually taught to shoot by the LAPD shooting team for the academy. Even though I'm not a member of LAPD and I did not go to the academy, I was trained by the shooting instructors at the LAPD academy. Boston Bill says, "I'm a bounty hunter. I trained with state police. It was brutal." Proud, April. You're awesome. Well, thank you, Bill. I'm very interested in what you do, Bill. I could have done that too. I wanted to. I thought about it, but I was like, do I really want to be out in an alley, in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. to hook somebody up? Like, my plate was so full between my cases, and I did all the insurance cases during the day. I would do the celebrity stuff, for other people until I got my own license and started my company. And then I worked a whole series of television shows, and I had an account called Entertainment Partners, which is the largest payroll agency in the business. At least it was back then. So I had all those, jobs that took me to movies and television sets. And then I did security on TV shows and celebrity stalkings, and plus just my regular PI cases and some guard work, it was just so much. I'm like, where would I have time to be a bounty hunter? Where can I fit that in when I'm already working, 80 hours a week? But I'm glad I worked all those hours then, because it helped me when, my health collapsed and, I was basically retired. Yes, Boston Bill, I get that. I track people for a living. Well, I've slowed down, but I still get out there. Yep. Thank you, Boston Bill. Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope I get better too. I have to see I think it's next week, I have to see the cardiologist again. And we got some things to discuss since my surgeries plural. Jay says, "My husband is a pastor. For a while, he was a police captain. He had to get gun certified with the PD." Oh, great. So he was a police chaplain. I read it as captain. A police chaplain. Okay. Boston Bill says, I'm going to start doing bounty hunter stories on my lives. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's interesting to me. Well, is there anything that anybody would like to add? I hope you guys hit the thumbs up button, and I hope you're all subscribed. And it does help when you guys put these videos on replay, even if you just have them on replay in the background, or if you share the videos. And oh, by the way, since I started this case, you know, just not investigating this case, but reporting this case, I've gotten a few rude comments along the way on my videos in the comment section saying that, you know, I shouldn't be putting all my effort into this case just because she's somebody's, a famous person's mother, and there's all these other missing people that don't get any attention, and, you know, yada, 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 yada. Well, go see my today's short. Yeah, go see my today's short video regarding the case of Joe Pickler. Who knows, maybe I'll do more little cases about, or videos about missing people. This just happens to be a big one that everybody in the country is interested in. But I did, and I don't make any money off any of these videos, and I don't even get, the watch views don't even count towards my views accumulation. So, yeah, I did take the time to make a short today on the case of Joe Pickler, who's been missing for 20 years. Jay says, had some pretty gruesome call-outs, even helping carry out victims. Ooh. Yeah. Oh. It's tough. I know. Epic says, oh, hey, Epic, people love to criticize. It's a professional hobby for some. Yeah. That's why I want to get monetized again so bad, so when the trolls come in, you know, I'll at least get the pennies for their clicks. That's why I haven't blocked anybody. I don't think I've ever had to block anybody on my YouTube channel. But hey, I need the engagement. I need the clicks. I need the views. So come at me. Oh, you saw my short? And you liked it. You said it was awesome. Well, considering that I still haven't learned to edit yet, that's a compliment. Thank you so much. Bill says it's awesome. So everybody go see it. I'm gonna like go get ready for, I'm gonna go get something to eat and get ready for night meds. And, oh, by the way, I didn't make the thumbnail yet, so I guess I have to do that tonight, too. I have to make the thumbnail for this video. I realized it was so late, and I'm like, you know, screw it. I'll make the thumbnail later tonight. So thanks for coming in. Milo Sunny, thank you. Okay. If you guys have any information that you want to send off record, you don't want to say it in the chat, you can always send me an email, and or you can send something to the business address. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Love you all.